Day 181, on the disciplined pursuit of less. If success is a catalyst for failure because it leads to the undisciplined pursuit of more, then one simple antidote is the disciplined pursuit of less. Not just haphazardly saying no, but purposefully, deliberately, and strategically eliminating the non-essentials. It takes work to simplify one's life, and perhaps that's why most people are engaged in the undisciplined pursuit of more rather than less. Saying no is uncomfortable, so by default they say yes to new obligations. They don't pause and ponder on how they use up their energy because it takes too much work. There's always something urgent to do, and hence they never take the time to deliberately eliminate what's unessential in their lives so they can focus on what matters. It's particularly important to remedy a situation in which your non-priorities dominate your priorities. For example, when you spend several hours a week cleaning your house and then don't have time and energy for exercise, it's a clear case of non-essentials robbing your priorities. Harness the power of self-discipline to make some uncomfortable changes, such as hiring a cleaning person so that you can free up your time and energy to focus on what matters more, your well-being. If you want to retain control over your life, embrace the strategy of deliberately pursuing less. Instead of thinking how you can add more to your life, figure out what you can eliminate from it, in order to make more time for what matters most for you. Think twice before you accept any new obligations or add new events to your calendar. Day 182, on saying no. Don't do anything you don't want to do. When you agree to do something you don't want to do, you will resent the person who asked you to do it. Saying yes to something you don't want to do can save you the discomfort of saying no, but ultimately it's like cheating on a diet. You get fleeting pleasure, or in the case of saying yes, temporarily escape discomfort, now at the expense of your long-term well-being. In addition to that, in the case of saying yes, you risk feeling resentful toward the person who asked you to do something you didn't want to do. Practice your self-control by saying no when you're tempted to say yes just to avoid awkwardness. It doesn't mean that from now on you'll never help somebody just because you don't feel like doing it. Give a helping hand whenever people need you, but establish boundaries and respect them. If you have trouble saying no, start small at first. For example, offer your help, but in a limited way, or put some conditions on it. After all, you're the one being asked for help, so even if you don't use your right to refuse, you can still exert your right to say when you're available or what you can and cannot do for another person. Week 27. Day 183, on shocking your body. Your body needs to be shocked to become resilient, Eric explained. Follow the same daily routine, and your musculoskeletal system quickly figures out how to adapt and go on autopilot. But surprise it with new challenges: leap over a creek, commando crawl under a log, sprint till your lungs are bursting, and scores of nerves and ancillary muscles are suddenly electrified into action. One of the most common reasons why people don't succeed at introducing a permanent exercise habit in their lives is because their workouts are boring. They do the same things over and over again, and even if they work in the beginning, the body quickly adapts to them and stops responding to them in the same way as in the beginning. When the effectiveness drops down and a person gets tired of doing the same things, the outcome is predictable: you no longer want to work out anymore. That's why I'm so strongly against any kind of structured fitness classes at the gym that you attend because you think it's the only way to exercise. Seek something enjoyable and exciting that won't feel like dreadful exercise. If you can't find it, keep looking until you do. Ultimately, it's the only way to successfully maintain an exercise habit in your life. However, please note that even if you're doing something exciting, no matter how fantastic it is in the beginning, if you don't change your routine every now and then, it also might get boring. Mixing it up every now and then by focusing on a different aspect of the activity, doing it in a different place, with different intensity or with different people will boost your excitement, shock your body, and ensure that you'll stick to physical activity for the long haul. Day 184, on creating value. Vow: I will create value for society, rather than extract it. In today's world of consumerism, it's easy to extract value without creating much yourself. Millions of office workers all over the world pretend they're hard at work, while on their screens you can see solitaire, social media sites, memes, or any other distraction that helps them to pass time until they can go home. Instead of supporting somebody else's efforts or creating something themselves, millions of people pass time by hating the things that were created by others. For example, watch pretty much any video on YouTube and you're guaranteed to see critical, if not blatantly hate-filled, comments, no matter how high the quality of the content and presentation is. Look at other comments that were posted by the same people, and you'll often find that their primary occupation in life is, unconstructively, criticizing the work of others without ever creating anything themselves. Instead of bettering themselves and encouraging others to do the same, millions seek to live their lives in the easiest way possible, even at the expense of their moral principles. Harness the power of self-discipline to create more value than you extract. In addition to making the world a better place, it will serve as a powerful exercise in self-control and transform your mindset to that of a producer, a person who will always be valued in society, regardless of the economy or location. For example, whenever you ask somebody for advice, share the knowledge with 2 or more other people. At work, try to do your best, and if your job doesn't excite you enough to do so, do everybody a favor and find a different job. That will let you contribute to the world in a better way. Support other creators instead of criticizing them. Don't always wait for somebody else to take the initiative, step forward and organize something yourself. Resist the temptation to consume without ever contributing much yourself. The more value you create, the better off everyone is, and the more that eventually comes back to you. Day 185, on staying with problems longer. Students who were forced to struggle on complex problems before receiving help from teachers outperformed students who received immediate assistance. Here's a simple mindset change that can help you improve your problem-solving skills and make you more persistent. Whenever you face a problem, stay with it for a good while before you ask anyone for help. If you're immediately seeking outside help the instant you find you can't deal with something, you're robbing yourself out of the opportunity to struggle and figure it out yourself. Obviously, this doesn't apply to life or death situations. I don't want you to spend a little while longer trying to figure out how to help a victim of a car accident. Call the ambulance right away. Practice staying with problems longer only when it's safe and sensible to do so. For example, if something is not working properly on your computer, before you call for IT help, seek answers yourself and only get help if you've tried several possible solutions and nothing has worked. If you're learning a new skill and can't figure out how to do something, try to deconstruct it, piece by piece. If you still can't figure it out, seek assistance from your teacher. By rejecting the impulse to ask for help right away, you'll also practice your self-control. The downside is wasting a few minutes on a problem you can't solve. The upside is developing more trust in your own abilities, becoming more patient, and learning something new. Day 186, on simple rules. Simple rules are shortcut strategies that save time and effort by focusing our attention and simplifying the way we process information. The rules aren't universal, they're tailored to the particular situation and the person using them. I'm a big fan of using rules to simplify my life. In today's world, we have too many choices to make. Many of those choices are trivial, but because we don't want to miss out, we waste precious time deciding where we want to go for dinner, whether we want to drink blueberry, raspberry, strawberry, or blackberry juice, and then waste even more time choosing a meal we want to eat. And that's just one common situation in a sea of choices. Which brand of bread to eat? Which fitness regimen to follow? Where to go for a vacation? Which book to read? The choices are endless, and they're all sucking energy that you could spend on something more constructive and useful. Embrace some simple rules in your life to pare down your choices to the bare minimum. For example, I have a simple rule when it comes to traveling: I never travel to cold places. If it's less than 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, I'm not going. This greatly limits my choices. I know that the weather will be relatively good, and I get to spend more time planning the actual trip rather than choosing the destination. Another example, more from the realm of personal development, is my rule of never giving up on anything that's important to me. Having established that something is important to me, I don't give up. I can't break my rule, so I'll stick to a goal for as long as necessary or until it stops being important to me. My other rules include things like not taking group classes. I find it to be an extremely ineffective way of learning when the attention of the teacher is spread out over several students or more, rejecting interviews and social media. I'd rather spend my time by writing a new book, and always choosing solutions that minimize my time investment, even if they're financially more expensive, such as choosing more expensive airport parking to be closer to the terminal or buying more expensive products to reduce the risk of them breaking down. What are your rules? Think of some common decisions you often have to make, including the important choices related to your goals, and think of simple rules you could establish to simplify your life and your decision-making process. Day 187, on not judging too quickly. Realize that other people think their behavior is more responsive to situational factors than you're inclined to think, and they're more likely to be right than you are. They almost certainly know their current situation, and their relevant personal history, better than you do. You can develop your self-control while working on your most important goals, but you can also practice it in everyday situations, when judging people, for example. Virtually all of us have done it at least once. You assume you know what's best for another person, while in fact you know nothing about their background or approach to the current situation, yet you judge. It's hard to resist this temptation. After all, we look at the world through our own filters and consider them suitable for everything and everyone. Whenever you catch yourself judging someone harshly, pause and ask yourself if you understand this person's personal history, motives, and current situation. A driver who honked at you might have been a jerk, but he might also have just been diagnosed with cancer, late to an important meeting, or driving to the hospital to visit a relative. An overweight person might be lazy, but he or she might also struggle with difficult family issues, health disorders, or be battling against depression. You never know the entire picture, so the best approach is to refrain from judging. You'll improve your people skills, and at the same time you'll be practicing your self-control. Day 188, on pride. All men make mistakes, but a good man yields when he knows his course is wrong, and repairs the evil. The only crime is pride. Pride has a positive connotation. You're proud of your achievements, proud of your children, or proud of your country. However, pride often serves as an excuse to stick to the wrong path or deny responsibility for your wrongdoings. It's also dangerous when it converts to egotism, a state leading to complacency and overestimating your abilities. Embrace a healthy approach toward accomplishment, appreciate your successes, but don't put pride on the pedestal and discontinue further efforts just because somebody acknowledged your triumphs. I sometimes receive emails from my readers telling me that my books have changed their lives. I'm happy to hear that they've found my work valuable, but, as strange as it may sound, I refuse to feel proud of my books. My books might have been the spark, but it's the readers' efforts that have helped them change their lives. If I were to convince myself that my books are so incredible, I would have probably become complacent or let the success go to my head. Another aspect of pride is stubbornly following the wrong path. A common demonstration of this behavior is particularly common among men. When they get lost, they'll put off asking somebody for directions for as long as they can, while they continue their journey in the wrong direction. Instead of acknowledging the mistake, swallowing their pride, and asking for help, they waste time and energy just because they're too prideful. If you recognize such a behavior in yourself, vow to never again let pride make you overinvest in the wrong endeavors. The moment you realize you're following the wrong path, stop. Go back to the drawing board, prepare new plans, and start again. In the grand scheme of things, your pride is of small importance when compared to achieving your large long-term goals. Day 189, on adventures. So many people live within unhappy circumstances and yet will not take the initiative to change their situation because they are conditioned to a life of security, conformity, and conservatism, all of which may appear to give one peace of mind, but in reality nothing is more dangerous to the adventurous spirit within a man than a secure future. The very basic core of a man's living spirit is his passion for adventure. The joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences, and hence there is no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. Boredom is dangerous not only because it's unpleasant, but also because it usually means having the worst kind of security in life, complacency. It's good to feel satisfied with what you have, but the moment you get stuck in a rut, afraid that any change will ruin the security you now enjoy, you lose the opportunity for immense joy and personal growth. Adventures spice up life. Without new experiences, life is boring and there's little growth to be attained. When you're bored, you're less likely to feel inspired to make changes in life, so it leads to a downward spiral. Embark on new adventures as often as you can. Traveling always means encounters with new experiences, but you don't necessarily have to leave your hometown every week to live an adventurous life. Learning new interesting skills can be an adventure in itself. Hiking to a nearby wilderness area or spending the night in a tent outdoors can get you out of a rut, too. Lastly, to actually be considered adventures, they are usually at least slightly uncomfortable or dangerous, and that also means an opportunity to practice self-discipline and toughen up. Plan your next adventure now. Week 28. Day 190, on being specific about your resolutions. Instead of saying, "I'm never going to cheat again," say, "Today, I'm not going to do that thing that makes me feel weak and shameful about myself again." When setting a new resolution, be specific about it, and particularly about the way a certain behavior you want to give up makes you feel. For example, saying, "I'm not going to eat pizza anymore," isn't going to be as visceral as saying, "I'm not going to eat that thing that makes me bloated, obese, and tired anymore." The former is a weak, non-emotional statement. The latter is a strong resolution that reminds you about the reason why you want to stop engaging in a given activity. This strategy works the other way, too. Instead of saying, "I'm going to write 1,000 words a day," say, "I'm going to write 1,000 words a day, the activity that makes me feel so energized, creative, and hopeful about the future in which I'm a best-selling author." A more specific, emotionally charged resolution will stick in your mind better, and that will help you keep going or pause and think before breaking a resolution. Day 191, on futile determination. If any man is able to convince me and show me that I do not think or act right, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth by which no man was ever injured. But he is injured who abides in his error and ignorance. Determination can change your life, but it can also lead to a lot of wasted time if you stubbornly keep going when everyone around you who's knowledgeable about the goal you want to reach tells you that you're following the wrong path. Obviously, if the only people who are trying to convince you that you're wrong have no idea about what you're doing, you can safely ignore their advice. If, however, people who have reached the goals you're striving to achieve are trying to correct your ways, heed their advice. I sometimes offer advice to new entrepreneurs who have big dreams, but the word realistic doesn't seem to be a part of their dictionary. I tell them to listen to the experts, get their feet wet with a simple business model and slowly build real-world experience. Unfortunately, many of them ignore this advice, only to return months or years later, this time with more humility and a desire to apply their immense desire and determination in a way that it can actually lead to results. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for bold undertakings, but often what those entrepreneurs do is waste time and energy, investing their vast reserves of determination into a project that was doomed to fail from the get-go because they had no real-world business experience to make it succeed. I know how it works, because I was such a person, too. The first time I read The Millionaire Fastlane by M.J. DeMarco, a book that eventually changed my life, I didn't heed the author's advice about not pursuing money-making schemes. I thought I knew better, and foolishly stuck to SEO, search engine optimization, and affiliate marketing. I had to suffer from several more failures before I was ready to listen to people who were more experienced than I was. If you want to save yourself from unnecessary failures, be open to feedback from people who have achieved the goals you'd like to reach. Don't abide in error and ignorance, digging for gold like a madman where hundreds of people had dug before you and didn't find anything. Day 192, on being in it for the long term. Tests compared new musicians who saw themselves as in it for the long term, versus just trying it. With the same amount of practice, the long-term commitment group outperformed the short-term commitment group by 400%. The long-term commitment group, with a mere 20 minutes of weekly practice, progressed faster than the short-termers who practiced for an hour and a half. When long-term commitment combined with high levels of practice, skills skyrocketed. There's something about long-term commitment that makes it immensely more powerful than doing something once off, even when the amount of time spent practicing is the same in both cases. What matters is not putting in the same number of hours every now and then, but putting in time consistently, even if it's a small amount of time. In other words, the winning strategy is that of a marathoner, running long distances slowly, and not that of a sprinter, running short distances quickly. For example, as a writer, I currently follow a routine of writing at least 1,000 words a day. I wouldn't be able to do my best work by not having a schedule and writing in a random fashion instead. It's the everyday habit that keeps my writing sharp, and whenever I take a longer break from writing, I need at least several days to get back into the groove. Consequently, I make sure that even if I can't write 1,000 words for some reason, I at least write something. Are your goals designed in such a way that you're working on them regularly, or are you doing them from time to time, in an erratic fashion? How can you develop a system that will ensure that each day or each week you practice for a set period of time? Day 193, on becoming a new person. If you want to be a new man, you have to stay in new places, and do new things, with people who never knew you before. If you go back to the same old ways, what else can you be but the same old person? Changing yourself doesn't necessarily mean throwing away your old life, cutting ties with your family and friends and moving to another corner of the world. If, however, certain aspects of your old life clearly hold you back, it is necessary to replace them with something new to enable your identity to change. If, for example, your primary way of spending time is going to nightclubs and partying, don't expect to become highly productive until you get rid of that habit and embrace a new, less exciting, lifestyle. Some of your friends will probably resent you for it, but if they're against you doing what you need to do for your personal growth, are they truly your friends? Likewise, pursuing important long-term goals often means becoming a part of a new community, visiting places you've never been to before, and embracing habits that you've never thought about. It's understandable to feel some resistance toward destroying your old ways and replacing them with something new, but ultimately it's how you become a new person. For example, I was apprehensive about terminating my bodybuilding workout regimen and switching to an entirely different, bodyweight-based approach to exercise. I had to follow new experts, perform new exercises, and train in a different environment. There's no way around it. If you want something new in your life, something old has to go, no matter how sentimental you are about it or how scared you are that the new thing might not work well for you. Day 194, on pain and quitting. Pain is temporary. Quitting lasts forever. Pain, particularly during strenuous exercise, is often so overpowering that you can barely think straight. However, it's through this pain that we grow, and it's a necessary part of the process, just like embracing discomfort in general is essential for rejecting instant gratification in order to accomplish your long-term goals. Whenever you feel tempted to give up because of momentary pain, do your best to remind yourself that pain passes, but the disappointment you'll feel upon quitting will accompany you for a long time. Giving up will give you some relief right now, but the price you'll have to pay will be ultimately more painful than bearing the pain a little while longer. If you think that there's no way you can handle the pain, something that will probably happen to you during the first several weeks of exercising, for example, tell yourself to only bear it for 3 seconds longer and then give up. Often, pain is a fleeting high-intensity burst at the moment you first feel it, and then it quickly recedes as your body adapts to it, something I experienced in numerous workouts, as well as when I took cold showers. Waiting for 3 seconds before you give up can be enough time to enable you to withstand the pain and keep going. As a quick disclaimer, please don't mistake the kind of pain that's safe, signaling you're pushing yourself, with the kind of pain that's the signal of an injury. Whenever you are pushing your limits, always prioritize safety over everything else. Day 195, on procrastination as your ally. If I defer writing a section, it must be eliminated. This is simple ethics. Why should I try to fool people by writing about a subject for which I feel no natural drive? People consider procrastination an enemy and seek ways to eliminate it from their life. What if I told you that procrastination can be actually one of your greatest allies? In essence, when you're putting something off, it's because you don't care about it enough to take action now. If there's no natural drive to get it done, then it means you're forcing yourself into doing something that isn't right for you. Perhaps it's the wrong action or you're thinking about it in the wrong way. Regardless, in both of those circumstances, procrastination tells you that you're lacking the right motivation. If you woke up in the early morning in a burning house, would you put off getting up for later? Likewise, if you cared deep down about building a business, would you procrastinate about doing the necessary work? Playing video games instead of working would be a clear signal that you've yet to uncover a strong enough reason to give up gaming in favor of doing something more productive. The next time you catch yourself delaying action, reassess your motivators. If you're constantly putting it off, your chances of success are slim. Discover better reasons why, or give up and do something else that won't result in constant procrastination. Day 196, on impermanent motivation. Of course, motivation is not permanent. But then, neither is bathing, but it is something you should do on a regular basis. Don't assume that if you're motivated now, you'll be motivated forever, and if the motivation is gone, it's time to give up on your goals. You should draw your motivation from your personal reasons why, such as your desire to build a successful business to offer your family the best of what life has to offer, but you'll have to periodically do some spring cleaning and revise your motivators. Resist the temptation to give up just because you temporarily lack motivation. Instead of treating it as an excuse to discontinue your efforts, come up with practical solutions that will recharge your motivation. Just like you need to wash your body regularly to keep it clean, you need to regularly take care of your motivation. Replenish it whenever it drops and always look for new ways to strengthen it. I strongly suggest creating a document in which you're going to put anything that fires you up. For example, I save articles I find inspirational, jot down songs I find motivating, and download images that inspire me. Whenever I feel under the weather, I can access my inspiration bank and lift my spirits. Week 29. Day 197, on eliminating a negative attitude. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude toward others can never bring me success. All but a few enlightened individuals engage at least periodically in behaviors and emotions like hatred, sarcasm, envy, jealousy, selfishness, miserliness, cynicism, or indifference. Fighting against those emotions is a battle that never ends, because no matter how self-disciplined you are, those behaviors are often impulses appearing out of the blue. What you can do is to be vigilant for them, and whenever they appear, instead of letting them linger in your head, replace them with the opposite thought or regard them as mere useless distractions. It's important to note that you need to see the pleasure you get out of engaging in negative emotions and behaviors as the worst type of instant gratification. Yes, in some twisted way it's pleasant to hate somebody, use sarcasm to hurt them, or be indifferent. However, if you engage in those behaviors without any restraint, you're training yourself to not control your impulses. Is this something that will help you exhibit self-discipline in other areas of your life, or will it hurt your efforts to do so? Day 198, on your maxims. The maxims of men reveal their characters. We've already talked about living in accordance with your principles and using simple rules to improve your decision-making process. Today I'd like to talk about a related topic, the importance of life maxims. I've already told you that metaphors can help instill a change better than any amount of specific step-by-step instructions, and so can the maxims you live by. Ponder the common statement that life is hard. If you truly believe that life is hard, then how does it affect your character? Are you going to be a cheery, optimistic person or adapt a defeatist outlook on life? How about thinking that a stranger is a friend you haven't met? Will this make you more likely to be a friendly person and develop a supportive circle of friends, or close you off to new opportunities to connect with like-minded individuals? What about adopting the maxim that everything in life is possible as long as you refuse to listen to reason? Okay, you won't become the President of the United States if you weren't born in that country, and a few other things, but other than that, would you say that living by such a maxim will hinder your growth or perhaps empower you? Your maxims expose your character. If you want to be successful, make sure that your maxims are empowering and positive. Make a list of the most important truths you live by, consciously or unconsciously, and ask yourself if they all serve you to become a better person. If they don't, discard them and replace them with different, more advantageous ones. Day 199, on your inaction hurting others. If you were meant to cure cancer or write a symphony or crack cold fusion and you don't do it, you not only hurt yourself, even destroy yourself. You hurt your children. You hurt me. You hurt the planet. If you can't shake yourself out of inaction for your own benefit, perhaps you can do it by having others in mind. This type of motivation is called pro-social motivation. It means taking action for the benefit of somebody or something beyond yourself, your family, your favorite charity, your community, the environment, etc. Spend some time thinking how your inaction hurts the people around you. For some people, the negative motivation they can get from such an exercise is more powerful than any words of encouragement. The guilt they feel upon realizing they're betraying their family or harming the planet can be a more enticing motivator than getting the rewards for themselves, whether they're internal or external ones. It's a technique I sometimes use to motivate myself to write. I've developed the skill of writing and people seem to enjoy and benefit from my books. If I don't write more books, I'm hurting them by depriving them of the education and possibly valuable insights that they could get by reading my works. If you're the type of a person who often cares more about others than yourself, this sort of motivation can turn you into a high achiever. However, be cautious not to overdo it. The point isn't to spend your life working yourself into the ground, forever feeling guilty that you could do even more. Strive to produce value for everyone, including yourself. Day 200, on fretting about yesterday's problems. If a ship has been sunk, Admiral King went on, I can't bring it up. If it is going to be sunk, I can't stop it. I can use my time much better working on tomorrow's problem than by fretting about yesterday's. Besides, if I let those things get me, I wouldn't last long. So many people waste time living in the past. They feel guilty because of the mistakes they made last year, regret not making a different decision last week, or wishing they could have somehow foreseen a failure 5 months ago. What's the point? Like Admiral King says, if a ship has been sunk, it's not like you can bring it up and set sail again. If you made a mistake, it's not like you can undo it. You can fix some of its consequences, but you can't turn back the clock. Likewise, you can't change the decision you made a week ago. All you can do is make a different decision today. Nor can you foresee the future. All you can do is try to do your best and prepare for the worst. Tap into your resources of willpower whenever you catch yourself fretting about yesterday's problems. Instead of ruminating about them, think about what you can do today, right here and right now, to improve your life. Ultimately, the only control you have is over what you're doing now, so make sure you're making the right choices today. Day 201, on teaching others. Teach others what you are learning. You become what you teach. You teach what you are. When you attempt to articulate and explain a new concept to someone else, you understand it and internalize it better yourself. You only really know something to the degree to which you can teach it to someone else, and have them understand and apply it in their own lives. Here's an ingenious way to become more self-disciplined. While learning how to strengthen your self-control, regularly share your lessons with other people. Teaching is a powerful way to make the knowledge you already have in your head become more organized and better internalized. Guess why I write books about self-discipline? Just kidding, though writing has definitely helped me clarify my ideas and better understand them myself. The next time you find yourself in a conversation with somebody who is wondering how to instill more self-discipline in their lives, don't hesitate to share your experiences or even serve as their unofficial coach and mentor. Another wonderful way to teach others is to participate in online forums or on social media sites. Teach others how you succeeded with your goals or how you successfully overcame a recent temptation, and you'll not only help them achieve their dreams, but also solidify your own success. Last but not least, if you aren't willing to teach others, teach yourself by journaling. Jotting down your insights, lessons, and conclusions will also serve as a valuable tool for self-improvement. Day 202, on accepting the worst. True peace of mind comes from accepting the worst. Psychologically, I think it means a release of energy. If you can't stop worrying, accept that the worst will happen and let it go. Having released this negative energy, you can now think of constructive ways to deal with the aftermath instead of wasting your time fearing the worst. This technique sounds simplistic, but it's actually a powerful way to escape from fear-driven paralysis. For example, if you're constantly worried that your business will not succeed and you're procrastinating about getting started, assume that it will go bankrupt. What can you do to ensure that the failure of your business won't have a big impact on your life? Make a list of potential solutions, such as starting your business on a shoestring or working on it only during the weekends, without it negatively affecting your day job. Now, if your business actually fails, you'll know how to cope. And if it doesn't, being prepared won't hurt you. In the end, thanks to accepting the worst, you can escape indecision and be better prepared both for success and failure. Day 203, on maintaining composure. Those who have accomplished the greatest results are those who never lose self-control, but are always calm, self-possessed, patient, and polite. Being calm, self-possessed, patient, and polite are all traits that everyone interested in building self-discipline should aspire to have. Let's go through them one by one and offer some pointers on how to develop them. Staying calm means being free of nervousness, anger, and other negative emotions that can take away your self-control and make you do things you'll later regret. In essence, staying calm comes down to mindfulness and the clear logical thinking that comes from that. One of the best ways to become calmer is to engage in some type of a meditative practice. Whether it's traditional meditation, engaging in a high-focus sport, or doing something that captures your full attention, it will serve as an exercise in mindfulness and thinking clearly. Being calm is a skill. The more often you put yourself in a calm state, the easier it will be to access and maintain it in your everyday life. Being self-possessed means that you can navigate difficult situations with grace and remain in control of your feelings in circumstances in which a person lacking such an ability would lose their head. By far the best way to develop this ability is by deliberately putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. The more you stretch your comfort zone, the less future situations will overwhelm you. A person who's already been in a disagreeable situation several times, out of their own volition, will be less likely to lose their head when they involuntarily find themselves in such circumstances in the future. A person who's unable to remain patient, whether it's with other people or when waiting for results to materialize, is more likely to make impulsive decisions that will sabotage their long-term goals. You need to train patience like a muscle. One way in which you can exercise your patience muscle is by engaging in activities that require patience or by learning a skill that takes a long time to develop. Slow progress will help you develop more humility and understand that some things can't be rushed, no matter how hard you try to push them. Being polite seems unrelated to the topic of self-discipline, but there's one aspect of this trait that does affect your self-control: treating everyone as your equal. People who are impolite are in essence putting themselves above others, thinking that they're superior. This arrogance can lead them to unnecessarily putting themselves in situations that test their willpower, which carries a higher risk of failure. How do you become more polite? Easy. Assume that you aren't better than others and try to learn from everybody. It's impossible to be impolite toward a person you consider your mentor, because that's what every person can become for you when you embrace humility. Week 30. Day 204, on psychological limits. The limit I thought existed was purely psychological. Now that I'd seen someone doing 1,000 pounds, I started making leaps in my training. It showed the power of mind over body. Our limits come primarily from our surroundings. If your role model of financial self-discipline is your Uncle Jimmy, who somehow managed to save $500 this year, his example will set your own threshold. After all, he's the only person you know who has managed to save money, so $500 saved in a year has to be a huge accomplishment. Let's imagine that your uncle has been networking with the movers and shakers and invited you out to a dinner with Bob, an owner of a local chain of bakeries. Bob instantly takes a liking to you, and answers all of your questions with enthusiasm. When you ask him how much a person should save during a year, he says that everyone can easily save at least $5,000 a year, and that's actually what he did for several years, in order to save enough money to bootstrap his business. Suddenly your psychological limits stretch, and now in your mind, it's $5,000 that's a lot and $500 feels like nothing. The same effect happens in virtually all areas of life, whether it's finance, fitness, health, learning new skills, eradicating deeply rooted negative habits, or introducing new challenging ones. Exposing yourself to high performers can be a wonderful way to push your psychological limits and show you what's possible. Reading stories of average people like you or me who have managed to achieve their goals despite having no natural talent, resources, or any other hidden advantages works almost like brainwashing. What belonged to the realm of impossible is now something you know can be achieved. Day 205, on treating hate as an exercise. I have no time to quarrel, no time for regrets, and no man can force me to stoop low enough to hate him. Critics can get the best of even the world-class top performers with millions of fans. Sadly, most of us have a tendency to focus more on a single instance of hatred than on a multitude of people expressing their love for ourselves or our work. Fortunately, encountering hate can serve as a valuable exercise in building self-control. As Lawrence Jones points out, it's your choice as to whether you stoop low enough to radiate hate back, or ignore it and focus on something else that is more important. When you meet with criticism, skepticism, or sarcasm, receive it as an opportunity to practice self-control. Instead of responding to it, think of it as a minor annoyance that tests your patience. You have just downsized it to a level where it's just not worth your time or energy. Just like you can practice restraint when you're stuck in traffic, you can improve your self-control by disregarding hate. That way, you'll get two benefits. You'll improve your willpower and avoid ruining your mood by engaging in negative emotions. Day 206, on vice fasts. Go on a vice fast. Pick one vice and abstain for 30 days. Proving to yourself that you're still in charge. 30-day vice fasts can be a great way to kickstart your self-control after a period of decreased self-discipline. Since it's just a 30-day challenge and not a lifetime change, you'll feel less resistance to starting it. Even though it's such a short period, it can still serve as a great way to exercise your willpower. Some ideas for 30-day vice fasts include 30 days without alcohol, 30 days without sugar in any form, or without processed sugar alone, 30 days without the snooze button, 30 days without watching TV, 30 days without watching pornography, 30 days without using social media, 30 days without spending money on anything besides necessary expenses, such as food, transportation costs, and bills. Day 207, on enthusiasm and endurance. Enthusiasm is common. Endurance is rare. In a perfect world, everyone who is pursuing their goals would be an endless source of enthusiasm for themselves and always be ready to pump themselves up when things get difficult. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, life isn't so simple. No matter how passionate you are about your goals today, there will come a day when everything will suck and all you'll want to do will be to give up. On that day, it won't be feel-good enthusiasm that makes you continue. It will be dogged determination and the tenacity to finish what you begin that will carry you forward. In a sense, enthusiasm is a fair-weather friend. By all means, you can have a great time with it when things are going well, but if you're having problems, the only people you'll be able to turn to would be your true friends, or in this case, perseverance. I once spent a weekend in miserable conditions, on the brink of hypothermia, learning outdoor first aid, something I was initially enthusiastic about. I can't even begin to describe how tempted I was to end that torture and go back home. Nobody forced me to stay there. At any moment, I could have said that I was unwell and announced that I had to leave the camp early. However, doing so would have been to act against my most important values and to miss out on an opportunity to instill endurance in myself. In the end, I saw it through to the end. Even though the experience was hellish, I reinforced my habit of keeping going and staying the course, even when everything inside me is screaming to let it go and quit. To train your endurance, vow to always see things through to the end. This will help you develop an empowering habit of sticking to your resolutions, come hell or high water. Day 208, on profiting from your losses. The most important thing in life is not to capitalize on your gains. Any fool can do that. The really important thing is to profit from your losses. That requires intelligence, and it makes the difference between a man of sense and a fool. In an ideal world, everybody would succeed more often than fail. In reality, failures are more common than triumphs, and so it means that the key skill is to learn how to profit primarily from your losses, not your successes. And how do you do that? Simple. Whenever you fail, don't just shrug it off and try again. Carefully analyze what happened, what worked well and what didn't, and what ultimately led to a failure. If you fail to do so, you'll miss out on a valuable learning experience and probably repeat your mistakes in the future. As an author, I track my book's sales performance. If a book doesn't perform well, despite my following the exact same marketing approach as I had used with my previous successful releases, I know that I probably made a mistake when I chose its topic and won't write about it again. When it comes to my nutritional habits, I try to track how each food affects me. That way, I discovered that potatoes always make me feel unwell, and that, no matter how many strawberries or blueberries I eat, I'll still be hungry. Such simple discoveries can have a huge impact on your diet, because you'll know the potential dangers and, instead of unconsciously exposing yourself to them over and over again, you'll correct your approach. Don't discount the value of a failure. There's a hidden treasure underneath each setback and struggle. Dig it out and use it to help you get closer to your goals. Day 209, on finishing quick tasks right away. My rule is never to lay down a letter until I have answered it. I dictate the reply to my secretary at once. There exists a big temptation to put off quick tasks. After all, they're easy and fast to do, so why do them now? Better to batch them and take care of them later. However, ultimately this strategy can generate more work. The reason is simple: whenever you procrastinate about a quick task, you're actually creating two tasks, the task in itself, and the task of remembering to do it. True, you can note it down, but it's still another task to do. In the end, keeping track of it can cost more time than simply doing the task right away. Moreover, quick tasks have a tendency to accumulate, and what originally would only take 5 minutes can ultimately take 3 hours, and then it suddenly becomes a problem to find so much time to get it all done. Finally, whether it's a quick task or not, putting it off just because you don't feel like doing it now creates a habit of procrastination. Remember that all of your behaviors contribute to who you are as a person. Procrastinating about small tasks leads to procrastinating about big goals. The next time you find yourself thinking about postponing a quick task, do it right away. Anything important that takes less than 5 to 10 minutes should be attended to immediately. Day 210, on deferring happiness. I have found that one of the commonest causes of unhappiness among my patients is that they are attempting to live their lives on the deferred payment plan. They do not live, nor enjoy life now, but wait for some future event or occurrence. It's important to be future-oriented and prioritize future rewards over instant gratification. However, this statement is only valid to a certain point. If you live exclusively in the future, thinking that achieving some goal in the future is the only way to bring you happiness, chances are you won't be happy either now or when you reach your goals. By then, you'll come up with yet another event that must happen in order for you to be happy. For this reason, it's important to ensure that while your focus is on the future, it isn't a condition for you to be happy. For one, if you're unhappy today, it will affect your well-being and make you less likely to reach your goals. Positivity breeds more positivity, while negativity spawns more negativity. A lack of happiness today can ruin your chances of making your future vision turn into reality. Second, happiness is a habit, and just like any other habit, it requires some self-control to practice it. Activities like expressing gratitude for what you have, reframing negative events into valuable experiences, and drawing pleasure from the little things are all essential practices you need to engage in regularly to stay in top mental shape. Last but not least, if you're always waiting for some future occurrence, thinking that it will change your life, you're essentially delegating the responsibility for your own happiness to some event happening, or not, in the future. Does that sound like a behavior of a successful person? Week 31.